Hello, this is Kara. I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for being on the call with us. I have our makers test up on the screen. I didn't have anything specific, but for questions and answers. And if there's something specific people want to go over, will you type it in the chat box and I will get through that. I have a list of a couple of things I just wanted to go through because they seem to be frequently asked questions that I've seen in the last couple weeks, and maybe it'll answer some questions, and then we'll just take a question at a time, and hopefully it will be helpful. A couple things I wanted to go over. The transportation transfer requirement is new this year, and that one is during the special session, the agency was reduced for their transportation appropriation, so we had to reduce claim payments by a percentage. And so the statute says with the loss of the transportation block grant starting next year and the reduction of the payment, you have to transfer funds from one of your any other fund except debt service and retirement to make up that shortage. So if you were to add up what the payment was short in your transportation second semester payment and the block grant for next year, that is the amount you could transfer up to. And it's only if you anticipate your mill levies to increase because of those reductions. I hope that makes enough sense. But let me show you where that transfer, we do have that transfer coding on the website.
Kara,
Seems to be, yes.
Is there a PowerPoint I can follow on the OPI website? This is Dell External, and I can't get hooked up to GoToMeeting. Not right now. Is it not letting you log into the GoToMeeting? No, when I ran the test and it said everything, my computer was compatible, but when I go to that link, I can't. It just said that this site can't be reached.
Huh.
So I don't know if it's something.
I can send you this link again and maybe try it one more time.
Okay.
What's your email address?
bvanhorn@circleschools.k12.mt.us.
Van Horn, is it like it sounds, at Circle Schools?
Yep. V as in Victor, ANHORN.
Tell me the last part, at circleschools.what?
K12.
mt.us?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, and I'm just on the web. Yes.
I think you sent it to E. Van Horn, and it should be D like dog.
See, I knew someone would correct me here. E. D. Oh, geez. I know I've emailed you before. You know. K-12. Is that right? US.mt.us. Try that one. Okay. I can't even say it's a Monday. So I'm just on the website in the school finance page, and under the accounting tab, anything related to your trustees' financial statements should be in the accounting tab as far as guidance and materials. And down below on this page is the transportation transfer, the provision from the law, and then the coding that you will want to use if you need to do a transfer. So just FYI, if you were looking for that coding or what specifically that requirement was, it's there. Did anybody have questions specifically about the transportation transfer?
Here it's Dennis in Butte. So it's the total of the cost of the block grant and the reduction in state funding for transportation, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
That would be the maximum amount, yes, you could transfer, no problem.
Sarah, will there be a warning in Mayfairs is there any way for it to tell us that? Will there be a warning in Mayfairs if the transfers we can't do?
If you, and you kind of cut out, so there'll be a warning in Mayfairs if you try to transfer more than those two amounts. There won't be a warning if you don't try to transfer anything, though, because it's not a requirement.
Okay. Right.
I mean, it's a requirement if your mill levies go up, but if they don't, then it isn't. So there'll be a warning if you're trying to transfer too much because it is capped at those two amounts.
Okay, great.
Any other questions on that? Okay. The other question that comes up a lot is that in your pre-sale data sheet, there's the special ed allowable cost payment from the state, and that revenue starts to change after you start entering 280 expenditures. And the reason it starts to change is because you have to have all your 280 expenditures in there to get the district match, so to say, portion of the special ed allowable cost payment. So if you originally saw, the full amount you received, and then you started inputting in your TFS, and suddenly that number is different, it's because you need to have the full 280 expenditures required to keep that state payment. That was just something I've run into. Anybody have questions about that? No? Feel free to interrupt me or put in the chat box, and I'll just keep yapping. There was an issue with having a negative cash in the balance sheet. It wasn't intentional. It was it's just a background coding issue. That is fixed now, so you can enter negative cash in your balance sheet if anybody had tried that and couldn't. So the sub-fund code in Fund 61, hopefully everyone's aware there's those 4 sub-fund codes. When you go into Mayfairs, I'm just going to pick on any school that's on my list. Usually, we'll pick on Anaconda for fun. So in order to input revenues or expenditures on your TFS, you do have to select a sub-fund code. Some people get confused because there's this import, right? But you still can manually enter. You do have to click a sub-fund in order to actually put anything in here. So another question I've received a lot about it is when you have non-levy revenues such as oil and gas or interest off delinquent taxes, what sub-fund do you put that in? The permissive fund is pretty restrictive on what you're allowed to put in there, even though there's all those allowable non-levy revenues. You do have to mill the 10 mills first, yada, yada, yada. What I'm recommending, if you have any non-levy revenues, but you don't actually have a voted or even a transition, you maybe have a safety or permissive, put it in your Fund 612 because technically your voted sub-fund always existed, even though it's labeled that. I know it kind of seems, it's just how the statute says it, but that was always in there, and that one will take all the non-levy revenues allowed. the oil and gas at, and it still is all Fund 61, revenues and expenditures at the end of the day. It's just that permissive subfund is very limited, and I don't want you to be stuck with those permissive subfund revenues being tied to, those conditions inventories report when it wasn't, that one didn't take that non-levy revenue initially. So it's kind of a catch-all. It's not ideal, but it's the best route to go. Does that make sense? Anybody have questions on that? No? Okay. Guys are making it easy. Another thing that's come up is anybody has a full equipment nutrition grant. There was some discrepancies when you got your payment advice. I think it told you to put it into Fund 15 and revenue code 4650. It should actually go into Fund 12 and revenue code 4610. That was just a fluky thing. If anybody has that, that's where it actually belongs. And people probably know, but if you try to call Mary's old phone number, that 444-1960, no one is manning that phone. So don't call them. You can call me. You can call Carrie, our new person, and she will try to assist you. Carrie, what's your phone number?
440783.
She loves that. See, I didn't give you mine off the top of my head. Did anyone try the upload? Is it working okay? How's it going?
Kara, this is Dennis. I uploaded one fund and it seemed to take everything fine.
Right. And when you do the upload, you have to do all the funds at one time.
Okay.
I'm just testing right now.
Okay, perfect. I just didn't want you to think, hey, that one fund is done and have it wiped out and be disappointed. No.
Yep,
Great.
nope, I understand.
Perfect. Anybody else have any issues with it? Perfect. The only other thing I wanted to go over was there was a change in way the general fund, it was included in the release email, the way the general fund budget limit you can adopt, you need to go in the particular order, which is you have to finish your TFS report completely, get your fund balance, and then when you go into your general fund budget, just picking on these guys still, you do have this adopted budget between these two, but until you have all these non-levy revenues, it won't necessarily let you adopt the highest budget until you've reached certain limits. So make sure you put in all your revenues, you put in your reserves, and you put in your fund balance before you start adopting your budget. I don't want it to mislead anyone that you're trying to adopt this highest one, but it doesn't let you because you don't have all your non-levy revenues in there. It's just kind of an order issue. I didn't have anything else specifically. Anybody have any questions? Somebody has a question. I know it. Nothing? Nobody?
I guess the one thing I'm wondering about is, so monthly I've been tracking my, revenues into the permissive levy and the building reserve, but how is everybody doing that? Tracking those, the revenues coming in, are they doing it every month? And it's just, you have to, like if I have a voted and a permissive, then we use a percentage to go back to the levies that we set in the percentage to break that out. But I just kind of wondered, I've asked my treasurer if she could pull up a report from her software that would be something I could go back to make sure I didn't miss something. How are people doing that, tracking those permissive building reserve revenues?
Does anybody on the phone have any thoughts on the way they're doing that? Are you doing that monthly? I'm going to start picking on you. On my list.
This is Dennis in Butte again. We set up within our system and with the county kind of a sub-fund, and told them we were expecting X amount, and they just calculated against the total revenue received in that 61 fund.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So that we get to, because we have a voted levy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just collecting a total, and then of that total, we're expecting X amount for the voted piece and X amount for the permissive piece.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I could get it out of their software. I should be able. We've got Tyler and they've got Tyler, and be able to. But they collected for that levy coming in, just for my double check, because just to make sure I'm spit it out right. Okay, thank you.
And when we went through the guidance on this fund and splitting out the tax revenues between the permissive and voted funds, there was a suggestion. It's up to the district's discretion. Some districts might prefer to fill their, right, wrong, or different, fill their voted one completely first, because they might have obligations, building reserve obligations that they have to pay for first. So, or you could do a percentage allocation. It's not specific in the statute, so kind of up to the district. Yeah. So if you have some obligation that you have to pay, then maybe that's the priority, or maybe you split it. It's really up to the district's discretion.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions? You're making it too easy. One? Nothing? I know everybody is busy. Okay, I'm going to go down my list, make sure nobody has questions. Ann, how about you? Do you have questions? No. Okay. Beth, any questions from you?
No, thank you.
Okay. How about you, Brian?
Until I get in and start messing with it, I won't have any specific questions.
Okay, okay.
We're still getting our revenue in.
Yeah, I get it. How about you, Carrie?
I joined a little late, so I kind of missed some of the non-levy revenue for the building reserve fund. I have quite a bit of interest that I've accumulated this year, so you think that would be best to put that in that voted levy rather than the permissive. I mean, I've maxed out the permissive, so I've met that requirement, but so
yeah,
you suggest.
You will not be able to put any more in your permissive than what's allowable. And it's
right
by that calculation. So yes, the 612 one is not restricted to that, and it does allow non-levy revenue. So that's why I recommend 612, and it all is still Fund 61. But yes, that was my recommendation.
I have to watch that because we're one of those districts that our 10 mills don't do that full amount. So I'm going to have some non-levy revenue somewhere to make up that difference in order to qualify for that money from the state. So I want to make really sure that I'm good there. If I put that in the fund sub 12, that interest will be able to be used towards that obligation.
Oh yeah, then you could put. Mm-hmm.
Because that's why I'm a little worried about putting it with the voted levy amount rather than the permissive levy amount, because of that match, or that I need to come up to that max to get that match from the state.
Okay, yeah, let me, that's a good point. If you aren't at the 10 mills, your situation is going to be a little different. So we're not paying the state payment in 2019, so as far as closing 2018, it won't
It doesn't really affect it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but in 19, yeah, this is something we'll want to look at because in 2020 we do issue the paper. We will want to look at that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my 10
and you-
meals doesn't do our full amount that we need, so.
Okay. Yeah,
so-
sure.
Yeah. I'll find the money somewhere.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay.
But that was my only question.
Perfect. Dennis, do you have anything else? Questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Deanna?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Okay. Donnie, do you have any questions?
I'm fine.
Okay. Dustin? Some of you are dropping off. How about Felicia? Do you have anything?
At this point, I'm just kind of watching and seeing how this all works. I've just barely started to enter stuff, so being my first year, I'm sure I'll have a lot, just not enough knowledge yet to know what to ask.
Okay. Nope, I get it. Julie, how about you? Kelsey, you?
So I'm brand new. I'm just following along. I'm sure I'll have lots
Okay.
more later.
Yeah, call anytime. Okay.
Thank you.
Kim? And let me mention one more thing and make sure that people still remember the data for achievement payment entitlement is still part of the budget limits, but that one will not be paid by the state again this year. So remember that when you're, planning ahead for your budget, that revenue is still gone. Okay, I just want to mention that before I forget. Kim, do you have anything? Lenore?
Nope, I haven't got started yet. I'm still closing out June, so I'm sure I will once I get started.
Perfect. Mary? Mary, so either Mary? Donna, do you have any questions?
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Casey? Okay. Sue?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay. How about you, Tom?
We're good. We're both of us are here following along. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's my list, and thanks for participating. If you have any questions, of course, we're always available. Okay, happy Macer's entry. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.